explores various pathways through which you can connect with the infinite wisdom of the universe and apply it to personal, professional, and spiritual growth. This program, featuring accomplished practitioners, educators, and authors, is provided by Infinity Foundation, an innovative center for holistic studies and research. We invite you to share this journey with us.
Hello, welcome to InnerQuest. My name is Jay Stone, and our guest is Rev Darrell Jones. Welcome, Rev Jones.
Thank you.
Is it okay if I just call you Darrell?
Please.
Okay. Darrell is the founder of Soul Gym, an online resource for exercising one's spirituality through meditation, prayer, study, and I'll add self-reflection. Darrell is a licensed minister with Centers for Spiritual Living and holds a Master's in Consciousness Studies degree. Darrell provides spiritual direction and coaching for individuals, couples, small groups in spiritual, corporate, nonprofit, and educational settings. How is it possible to exercise one's spirituality? I think we think of exercising our biceps or our abs or our legs.
Sure.
How do we exercise our spirituality?
Well, to me, the key is to engage in some sort of practice. Just as most people understand going to a gym to work out your physical muscles, you may know the importance of doing sit-ups to strengthen your core or to do Pilates, but knowing that information is not enough to actually strengthen the muscles. You have to actually exercise them. And I found over the years with the one-on-one coaching that I've done, where I'm teaching in an organization or offering a workshop, a lot of people got excited about ideas, but then they would step out of the classroom or step out of the office or step out of the event and their phone would ring and they were kind of sucked back into their life. And it became paramount to me to create a space for people to exercise their spirituality. And in particular, I see that as meditating, praying, and studying.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Okay.
So exercise our spirituality. If I exercise my body, I can see changes in it. You know, maybe lose some weight, firm up.
Sure.
How does one know if he or she has exercised his or her spirituality?
Sure. There's lots of physical experiences that can take place. Some very basic and not spiritual at all is sometimes people just start sleeping better.
Okay.
Relationships may shift. Work may not seem so stressful. There may be an experience of general lightness or levity, maybe some happiness where there wasn't before.
From the endorphins that come from meditating? Because
Sure.
a spiritual practice produces endorphins just like physical exercise. And, you know, now that I think about it, or because of your answer, there's a decrease in heart rate, decrease of blood pressure, more blood flows to the brain, decrease in muscle tension.
Absolutely.
So there's obvious physical changes in the body, just like there's changes in the body when one does a physical exercise.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So you created this program called Soul Gym. Is that so? You're the inventor of this? Or?
Yeah, it's an online ministry that I started a year ago and was testing it for about 2 years prior, kind of proof of concept that people would want to have support in exercising their spirituality, in particular through meditation and prayer, outside of the traditional setting of a church or synagogue, mosque, or other religious space. The other days of the week, maybe when they're not engaged in spiritual community.
Okay. And how has the feedback been from your Soul Gym program?
Yeah. Well, I started off by offering a meditation, which I still do every Wednesday night, and it's a conference call. So you can call in from anywhere around the country. It lasts for about 30 minutes.
Could you call from outside of the country?
You could, actually.
Okay.
It's challenging. I offer it during Central Standard Time at 7:30, so not everyone can call in. So from the beginning, I have recorded everything. So I have well over 100 recordings of these meditations. So then I post them, and I find that people download it more than they do call in live. and I get IP address reports. It's not like Big Brother, I know exactly where people are, but generally I know that there's people in Paris that download it, people in San Francisco that download it, there's people obviously in Chicago that I know download it, and around the rest of the United States.
So in this conference call, are people meditating along with you?
Yes, some people do call in live. It's a guided meditation, and there isn't a lot of, it's not a discussion or like a workshop where we're talking through and processing things. At the beginning of the call, I invite people to say hello, and then I mute the lines. And so that way, if someone has a barking dog in the background or someone sneezes or coughs, there's no distractions on the recording. And I take people through a series of anywhere from 2 to 4 different meditations.
Now, was this something you learned in your ministerial studies, or is this something that you just picked up along the way?
The specific practices that we do?
Yeah, the guided meditations.
It was something that I learned. The program that I was involved in was very experiential. So we studied a lot of different traditions, but we were always engaging in retreats at the beginning and the end of the school year. And a lot of the classroom was actually in Denver, and I lived here in Chicago. So I would travel sometime there for intensive weekends, but then other times we did everything online. And so that's where I really started to recognize the power of offering things so that people could engage with communities, engage with practice, but not be locked by location.
Well, you have a great voice, and you mentioned before the show that you used to do music.
Yes.
Were you a singer?
I was, and I still am a singer. So that definitely helps. The voice does help guiding people through a relaxing experience.
And also before the show, I learned your father is a minister.
He is.
Can you say a few words about
Sure.
your old dad?
Yeah, he's. I always refer to him as a Protestant mutt. He is engaged in a lot of different denominations, from the UCC Church, Presbyterian Church, Lutheran Church, Baptist Church, Methodist Church. But it was really growing up with him that I had my foundation of a larger idea or sense of God or the universe, as well as my mother. Both of them were very left of center in their thinking and always invited me to challenge what was presented to me.
And does your father do meditation, or do it in the course of his?
He does. I think it's probably more of a contemplative prayer that seems to reveal itself more in Christian traditions, where there's taking maybe a passage of Scripture and taking whatever guidance from those words into some stillness.
Okay. And how do you use the internet and phone to enhance spirituality? I know you talked a little bit about the guided meditation.
Sure.
But please add to that.
Yeah. So we offer a call on Wednesday that's a meditation. We do a prayer call on Saturday morning, and then we call it a Sunday brunch creativity call, where we explore the idea of spirituality and our creativity, whether we're professional artists or we're more hobbyists, but looking at.
Okay, so what do you pray for world peace? Do you pray that someone gets healed from cancer?
Sure, all of that. The individuals that call in have a moment with the practitioner who's facilitating the call, and they ask for their prayer requests, but again, it's recorded so people can listen later. And so to keep some anonymity and not make it about a singular person, if someone calls in and says, I'm battling cancer and I'm calling in for health and wholeness, that is what is spoken to. So then anyone who calls in later and listens to that prayer, most people want to have an experience of greater health and wholeness in their life. So it becomes more of a universal prayer.
And do you also do a meditation on the days when you have your prayers?
We don't. There's one day of meditation, one day of prayer, and one day of creativity right now. And we constantly are offering one-off webinars, classes, and workshops. But the whole point of doing it online, again, is so that it can be something that supports people not just here in Chicago where I live, but anywhere around the planet. There's some people I know that are in remote places that they don't have as much access as we do in a big city here to experience so many different things. So it becomes a wonderful way for them, in the convenience of their own home and on their own time schedule, to call in and listen, or to do things online and do things through the computer or an iPad or some other device that they can connect to the internet with.
Now, churches, especially African American churches, have a history of getting involved in social issue or
Absolutely.
social change. Do you ever get into social agendas?
Personally, I do, but by the nature of how things work online, I think it was after the Orlando bomb and shooting in the club.
Where it was a gay bar?
Yes. We did, I think it happened on a Tuesday. I can't remember what day of the week it was, but the next meditation call, we ended up doing a meditation based on peace and looking at our own anger and frustration, because there was a lot of anger and fear and worry that was happening. And my whole thing is, let's not shy away from that. Let's welcome that into our personal practice. So the way that I see that as being socially active is that we're giving a space for individuals to be with their feelings or emotions, their relationship to whatever's happening in the world, so that they can step back into conversations at work and their families a little bit more grounded.
And so if somebody wanted to listen to that particular show, do you have it archived?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. And why do you consider meditation the fundamental practice of any mindfulness or self-growth program?
Sure. To me, it's the easiest. I think it's the easiest. Some people think it's hard to start, but I do think it doesn't require a lot of understanding in terms of philosophy or tradition. The basic idea is to be able to sit down, to take a few deep breaths, and to allow some stillness or motionless to come into one's being. And you don't need to buy any special yoga pants or clothes or get a mat or have certain music, although you can use all kinds of accoutrement to support that. It is a really basic thing that you can do sitting formally on a cushion. I always tell people that when I worked as an administrator in a music school, I worked in a open admin space, so there were about 20 other people around me, and I couldn't calm myself because I would get distracted by other people's conversations. And so I would start doing meditation at my desk, where I would just plop in some headphones and put on a piece of music that I liked that was 3 to 5 minutes, and I would just listen to the piece of music and breathe, and that was the meditation that I did at work. So it's something that we can do anywhere in our day. And to start there, it welcomes awareness, and in that space of awareness, I think, is where life changes.
And is there a particular time of day you recommend meditation?
I always challenge people to do it at the beginning of the day. I equate it to brushing our teeth, that it's something we do to freshen ourselves, to clean or cleanse ourselves, to step out into the day, and to do that for our mind and for our emotions and for our spirit before we step out into work or school is really, I think, a beneficial thing.
Yeah. What happens, in my opinion, is the body produces endorphins, these feel-good hormones, and so when the inevitable stress happens during the day, because we're feeling good, the stress takes less of a physical, mental, emotional toll.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But even more than the biochemical endorphins that get released, one who becomes a regular practitioner of meditation, I believe, becomes more aware of their internal strengths as well as their weaknesses. They become aware of things. And in that space of awareness, it allows us to be in better relationship with all the stresses in our life. A lot of people believe, and they talk about meditation or mindfulness reduces stress. And I say, actually, that's a little bit of a, bait and switch. I don't think it actually reduces stress. It allows us to be in better relationship with the stresses of our life. So it's a tool that we use.
Well, I use, every day, this analogy, every day we wash our hair, brush our teeth, soap and clean the
Not all of us wash our hair. I don't have much.
Head. Soap and clean the outside of our body.
Yeah.
But inside our bodies gets sullied just like the outside. And so the meditation or the solitude, the silence, the stillness, it gets rid of that sulliness that occurs
Absolutely.
inside the body.
Absolutely.
And so how many minutes of meditation do you recommend people start their mornings with?
Sure. If someone is not already a practitioner, I suggest the easiest amount of time as possible. So it could be 1 minute or 2 minutes. What to me is most important is building a habit. And the hardest thing in terms of building a new habit, especially if they're an adult learners don't like to learn new things because we think we are masters of everything already. And so oftentimes when adult learners sit down and they want to meditate right away, they think they're doing it right or wrong. And some of that is about time. So if they can't meditate for 30 minutes, if they can't meditate for 45 minutes or even 20 minutes, then they're not meditating right. I always say, meditate for the easiest amount of time that you can to start building the habit. So,
well, if you go beyond what your mind and body are requiring, that's going to have the opposite effect of meditation.
sure, yeah.
Now, do you recommend meditating more than once a day?
I do. There's two categories that I place meditation or mindfulness in. There's situational practices, and then there's the actual exercise. So the exercise of creating the habit that you do regardless of what your day has in store, ideally I think it's great to do it in the beginning of the day and the end of the day. I often say do a meditation of awakening to like really bring yourself present to the day, and then at the end of the day to do a meditation of gratitude, being thankful for what has transpired. But then as you move through your day, if you have a rough meeting or you're about to have a meeting that you know is making you a little anxious, to take a couple of minutes and to do some situational meditation or mindfulness where you are intentionally calming yourself and your energy back to an idea of truth, or peace or love or light, whatever word is resonating with you in that time.
Okay. Have you ever heard the words like centered or balance as a result of meditation? Can you define or describe those to our audience?
Sure. The idea for me of being centered, balanced, or grounded is the idea of being inside yourself. Every Wednesday when I do the meditation, before we do any contemplative or any other sort, we begin with the same practice every week. And I invite people to just become aware of their bodies, then what they're thinking, what they're feeling, their energy, and their spirit. And it's in asking people to become aware of that, it's almost like their awareness and their attention gets drawn back inside themselves, as opposed to the sound down the hall or their kids playing downstairs or the dog barking across the street. And to have your awareness fully back into your own space is centered to me. Now, do you stay there? No. You're constantly centering. Are you, balanced and then you're good? No, you're constantly balancing. Are you grounded and then you're good? No, you're constantly grounding yourself. So that's where the practice comes in.
I fully agree. So if I flipped a pen or pencil, it would rotate, the pen or pencil rotate around the center of gravity. And so just as every physical thing has a center of gravity, our bodies have a center of gravity, I also think our spirituality has a center too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, one thing my girlfriend and I discovered for our own personal health and the health of a relationship is to meditate together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you want to say a few words about meditating with the people you care about?
Yeah. There's a profound, I think there's two benefits of meditating with another person. One is you're probably less likely to get up if you get distracted by something because you've made a commitment with another person, or if you're in a class. But there's, at least for me, my experience of meditating with other people, I lose a little bit of myself and my story. I realize that I'm in a room with other people who have been experiencing their day, and if it is someone like a girlfriend or boyfriend, a wife, husband, or even your children, it becomes a way of becoming even more intimate and connected to them without having to have a conversation.
Right.
But you walk away or you step up from that mat with that loved one, and you've just shared a really powerful experience together. And sometimes that can transform and deepen relationships more than anything else.
Well, on a purely physical level, our minds and bodies become entrained. So our brain waves, our brain waves are constantly shifting. Our heart rate, our respiratory rate, they really become one. And so when people say, "Oh, I feel like one with my spouse," oh, they literally are one, at least during meditation.
Absolutely.
And so, besides meditation, what other practices are essential to Soul Gym?
Sure. The two others are prayer and study. I think that prayer and meditation fit together. If you're familiar with the symbol of the yin and yang, the black and white tumbling into the other, and there's a speck of the other inside the other.
Every yin has some yang, and every yang has some yin.
Absolutely. So I always, in specific more spiritual or religious conversations, the way I like to talk about meditation and prayer is meditation is in a receiving mode. Like we're taking on the wisdom, we're making ourselves available to guidance and insight. And then in prayer, we are directing the energy of life. We're speaking our intentions. We're asking for what we need. And it's a give and take, right? You need, in any relationship, be it with your own spirit or with God, there needs to be a give and take. So that's why I believe meditation and prayer together are really profound. And then the idea of study is that space of just always growing, that to continue to expand our minds and understanding of things, that whether we hold them as part of our personal life or just greater understanding of our neighbors, study is a critical component to our ever-expanding world that is, it's not expanding. I always talk to people about that the world is not expanding so much in size, but our connection is continuing to deepen. And so it behooves us, I think, to become wiser of the people that we're becoming closer to, right? So,
and so the prayer and the study. You said meditation, do what feels easy or right.
Sure.
How long does the prayer and the study? I'd like to say self-study.
Sure.
How long does the prayer and the study go on for?
Sure. Prayer, one of my favorite quotes is Meister Eckhart said, if you say thank you, that is enough. So to be in a prayer of gratitude, to say thank you for this day, to thank you for this food, thank you for my significant other.
You can even thank for your troubles,
Absolutely.
for your ailments.
Absolutely. So the prayer, there's a specific way that I pray that I call affirmative prayer, that is less about bartering, God, if you just make this happen, then I'll make sure that I won't, yell at anyone again. It's more a prayer of, I know and affirm that I am a loving person, that I am here to be of benefit to the world, that I'm here to be a loving partner in my relationship, and I'm grateful for that opportunity to be that person. Study can look like a lot of different things. Sometimes it's just a quote, to take a phrase, lift it out of a wisdom or a holy text or out of even a magazine or a song lyric, and to kind of pick it apart and uncover some deep meaning that it may have, I think is a powerful way to study.
And do you recommend prayer and study with others like you do on the internet?
Absolutely. The study for me is one of the places that I have a lot of fun, because it's not so much about one person having, this is what this means. It's being in discussion and dialogue. And that is, to me, the foundation of any community, whether it's a physical community or if it's an online community, to have a space for discussion and dialogue and sharing, and to have study as the catalyst or that which draws everyone together, I think is really powerful.
As I'm listening to you speak, in the back of my mind, I'm going, this guy should write a book. Are you thinking about writing a book?
I am. I offer one of the online courses that I do. It takes a look at, it's a 5-week course, and we start off by setting an intention. Then we look at meditation, prayer, and study, and then this idea of, okay, I've got these tools, and this is where it's less sexy, but it's literally about how can I schedule and calendar this into my life. If I've already got full-time work and friends and family and social activities, how do I literally create space, and where can I create space And I think to have a book or some sort of pamphlet to guide people through that process would be beneficial. So that's what I'm working on.
Well, and I like the way you chose the word space, because to me it's only when you create the space can God or the source come through.
Yes.
The light. All right. What are the biggest barriers when people start to meditate?
I think the biggest barrier is perfectionism. People have an idea. I always joke, partially from my own experience coming into meditation, is when I first saw meditation, I think it may have been the TV show Kung Fu. And it was this idea of monks sitting for hours on end with their legs crossed in certain, hand mudras. And as much as I love that, it kind of deterred me, because I was like, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that my first time I sit down. So I think that idea of trying to be monk-like or avatarish-like, that keep people away is one of the biggest barriers. And then also, at least in the Western world, this idea that meditation is about making the mind completely quiet and still, I think does more disservice than it does good in terms of encouraging people to start meditation. Because I don't know about you, the first few minutes of most of my meditations, my mind is not very still and it's not very quiet. It's kind of like a spring that's unwinding itself. And it's once I've gotten into the practice that I then have some space in between the thoughts that are quiet and still. So if people can recognize that it doesn't have to be an hour, you're not going to quiet your mind right away, and that you're not trying to, become some sort of monk type person, that this is just a practice for bettering your life, I think would encourage more beginners to start.
Well, believe it or not, we have less than 2 minutes.
Oh, wow, okay.
Time has flown by. We must be meditating.
Absolutely.
Actually, one of my first experience with meditation, it was a shirt. It said, "Meditation is not what you think."
Right.
Anyway, you are inspiring, and I'm sure you have drawn inspiration from teachers and guides and gurus. You want to give a shout out to some of the people who have influenced you?
Absolutely. I really started my soul discovery, I guess you could call it, at an organization here called the Bodhi Spiritual Center. A dear friend of mine, Reverend Mark Anthony Lord, was kind of my immediate guru. But I read Ram Dass. He was a really profound.
He's still alive. I interviewed him a few years ago.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah.
Yeah. He made meditation accessible, really accessible to me. It was probably, even though I never met him, in terms of having a guru, someone that I would ask questions of in my practices, I think he was probably my first really big guru when it came to meditation.
I'll tell you a great story when we're done.
Okay.
And of course, I assume your father was
Yes.
a great influence to
Yes.
you.
The first person that I actually saw meditate, though, was my mom. She did transcendental meditation. And I remember coming home from class, I think I might have been 8 or 9, and my mom was just sitting in the living room with her eyes closed, and I was like, "Mom, I'm home from school," and came in, throwing the bag down, and she didn't move, and she just kind of had this soft smile on her face. But I knew to, be quiet and let her alone.
All right. I think I'm getting a signal to
All right.
wrap up.
Thank you so
For
much.
more information about Reverend Darrell Jones, the Soul Gym, Inner Quest, Infinity Foundation, stay tuned to the credits at the end. Until next time, wish you good health, good fortune, and good spirits. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
to
you
meet
so much, Jay. It was a blast.
Thank you.
For more information about this show, our guest, Infinity Foundation, or any of our other programs, please visit our website, infinityfoundation.org, or call us at 847-831-882.